Hello, this is Nick Hodge. Congratulations on joining me in what I believe could be the most important investment decision of your life. I recently told you about some early stage development plays in which investors saw not 3-digit, not 4-digit, but 5-digit percentage profits. In some cases, it was even 6-digit percentage profits. Just to be clear, these are profits greater than 99,999%. That's 90,999%. Or more than 999 times your money. Some of my subscribers practically fainted when they saw these investments. One of the stocks I mentioned, Sandfire Resources, jumped from a nickel a share in 2009 to $8 in 2012, a gain of 15,900% in just under 3 years. That was enough to turn a $1,000 flyer into $160,000. Another development stage play, Blackthorn Resources, an Australian mining company, went from 2 cents to $1.78 in just a few years, up 8,800%. You could have made a $2,000 investment and walked away with as much as $178,000 in just 3 short years. And Coalspur Mines, a tiny mining company with holdings in British Columbia and Alberta, shot up from a penny a share to $2.25 in 2 years' time. That's 22,400% profits. Just think, if you had the nerve to invest $5,000 in Coalspur, you could have an extra $1.12 million sitting in your bank account right now. The profits from deals like these dwarf what you can make anywhere else. No other investment on earth, futures, options, private equity, you name it, gives you returns like these. Nowhere else in the world can you get leverage like this. Nowhere else can you literally turn $500 into $1 million. Paladin Energy skyrocketed from below a penny a share in 2003 to over $10.44 a share in 2007. That's a gain of 116,000%. Every $500 invested could have grown into $580,000. Simply put, this is what people mean when they talk about retiring on one stock. Stocks like these can set you up for life. You, your children, and even your grandchildren. Here's another example. Azure Resources. It took off from a nickel a share and shot up to $109 a share, a 217,900% gain. Imagine making 2,179 times your money. Every $1,000 grows into $2.18 million. Another example is Lion Mines. It surged from 7 cents a share to $380 a share. In just 5 years, it saw a total return of 542,757%. That's enough to turn every $100 into $543,000 and every $1,000 into $5.4 million. I don't need to spell out what profits like these can mean for your life. A $10,000 flyer on a stock like that would grow into $54 million. Now, what I didn't tell you when I mentioned these companies is that I hear about investments like these all the time. Several a year, in fact. I just don't tell you about them. And there's a good reason for that. For one thing, these stocks are highly speculative, highly risky investments. They go up and down like a roller coaster. Some are ultra-risky penny stocks. Others are tech startups. Still others are private placement deals. And worst of all, some don't go anywhere. But there is a way to vastly improve your odds when investing in companies like these, and that is to piggyback when the ultra-wealthy are investing in them. You see, the CEOs, money managers, and private equity high rollers I meet with often pour millions of dollars into these companies. They hear about and have access to investment deals that are closed to 99.9% of other investors. We've talked about this before. In what are known as private placements, companies with breakthrough new technologies or spectacular profit margins will approach money managers and accredited, ultra-wealthy investors. These big money players will be privately offered shares of the stock, usually at rock-bottom prices, sometimes even before a stock starts trading, and also given warrants to buy more. A warrant is like an option, only it's issued by a company instead of a stock exchange. It gives you the right, but not the obligation, to buy shares at a specific price. In other words, for very little money, the ultra-wealthy get the right to buy stocks often for pennies a share after the stock has done a moonshot. Deals like these are why the 1% are the 1%. Now let me be clear. This is not insider trading. Private placement deals like these are 100% legal. The transactions are recorded and everything is transparent, but you still never hear a word about them. By the time you hear about a private placement play, a stock like Wharf Resources, which was selling for 40 cents a share when accredited investors learned about it, goes for $560 a share. And by not knowing about this play, you miss out on a potential gain of 139,900%, enough to turn $500 into $700,000. Let me give you an example of how these deals work. Last winter, I sat down to dinner at the Four Seasons in Vancouver, but I wasn't there for the novelty of $100 per ounce caviar. Instead, I'd been invited to dine with the top brass of a uranium company I'd been researching for several months. Also in attendance were several company promoters, leading geologists, top-tier bankers, and millionaire financiers. These guys knew the executive chef at the restaurant, so not only did we get a choice table, but we also had access to back-of-the-house food and wine. We were treated like royalty, but that seems to be par for the course when you're hanging around with a group whose net worth runs into the hundreds of millions or more. But the perks of eating in one of Canada's finest establishments isn't the point of my story. The point is this. After the wine had been flowing and the lips were loosening, one of the guys at the table mentioned a company by the name of Crazy Horse Resources. Immediately, one of the geologists perked up, and after a slug of Screaming Eagle Cabernet, he went on to say that he'd seen some early drill results, and they're looking pretty damn good. And that's all it took. 5 simple words most anyone would have immediately dismissed. But I kept the company in mind, finished my dinner, and parted around midnight. The minute I got back to my room, I unloaded my work bag, opened the notebook I'd brought with me, the one I've brought on every trip I've taken for the past 9 years, and scribbled down the name, Crazy Horse. The dinner I've been telling you about was on January 19th, a Sunday. The stock opened during the next week at 8 cents per share. Here's what happened after. As you can see, after the tip I overheard during dinner, the stock market made an immediate move. 5 weeks later, on March 3rd, the stock had doubled, spouting off for 100% gains in just over a month. This got me thinking. How much money did those guys at the table make? I mean, these kinds of guys aren't looking to make 10%. They look at investments like Crazy Horse in terms of where their next 10 million is going to come from. They don't invest in hype, and they don't invest on emotion. They're multi-millionaires for a reason, and they don't mention companies over dinner lightly. When that geologist touted the drill results of Crazy Horse, he was all but saying it was a can't-miss investment opportunity. And it's pretty obvious from the stock chart that those at the table took action. Here's why. If you look up Crazy Horse Resources, you'll see that, on average, 343 shares of stock are traded per day. But days after the geologist dropped the line about drill results looking good, nearly 2 million shares were traded. That's a 583,000% increase in trading activity. Coincidence? I don't think so. Now, I didn't recommend this stock through any of my advisory services because I wanted to see what happened before I told my readers about anything as speculative as Crazy Horse Resources. It was an 8-cent stock after all. So none of my current readers, unless they were at that dinner, likely brought in a profit on this company. But that's about to change, and I'll share exactly why in just a few minutes. First, however, I want to show you a very profitable pattern I've noticed. I've been attending dinners like the one I just told you about for years. I place a huge importance on seeing what I'm buying, so I've flown all over the world during the past 9 years for conferences, meetings, tours, seminars, you name it. And during that time, I've heard countless mentions of companies like Crazy Horse, whether it be at dinner, drinks at the bar, or during a phone call with an industry expert. Thing is, I've always imagined these tips were something like how a group of guys will talk about sports. They'll throw ideas back and forth about how a certain player might be injured or that a certain team looks like a lock to win a particular matchup. It all just seemed like friendly conversation. But then, I started to notice a pattern. I realized it was far more than just banter. Like I said, I wasn't sure how Crazy Horse was actually going to perform after hearing about it. It was an 8-cent stock that had little going for it other than a few press releases. But there had to be a reason the experts at my table were so excited about the company. I was about to get a lesson in private placement investing. On July 23rd, 2014, I received a phone call from a confidant in the financial industry. The guy's a California-based millionaire. I've been asked to keep his name private, but I can tell you he lives in a waterfront property in Southern California, wears a 5-figure Rolex, and owns more cars than any 10 people you know put together. During our phone call, in fact, he told me he'd made one guy so much money on a stock that the guy bought him a gift, a $220,000 Bentley. Anyway, he knew about a stock that I'd recommended to my readers. He called to tell me that another major newsletter was going to be doing a promotion on the company. Based on this, the guy himself purchased 1 million shares of the company. I immediately jotted it down in my notebook, the same notebook I had with me during my trip to Vancouver, and circled the note in red. The next day, July 24th, I sent out an alert telling readers to double their positions. The stock was trading at 68 cents per share when it opened that day, and this is what happened after. By August 27th, it was a $2.29 stock, 236% gains in a month. Those who doubled their positions as advised would have turned $5,000 into almost $17,000, $10,000 into $33,600, or $25,000 into $84,000. The point here is that I was quickly realizing these top industry insiders have ultimate knowledge on what's going to be profitable and what isn't. And my third experience with receiving a tip last year was the icing on the cake. Last October, I found myself at the New Orleans Investment Conference. I was standing at the Hilton Bar after listening to the speakers when I was approached by a financier who focuses on mining. After a couple drinks, Macallan 18, he told me that a company by the name of Soltoro had been having some drilling success. More specifically, he let me in on the knowledge that the company would soon file a resource estimate, was in the process of a private placement, and had had some major silver miners out to inspect its property that may be interested in buying it. All of this was in the public realm, but no one else takes the time to put the pieces together. After a parting drink, I headed back to my hotel room and, before I could forget, scribbled the ticker symbol of Soltoro in my trusty notebook. The next day, the stock opened at 8 cents per share. Here's what happened after. Over the next 9 weeks, the stock shot to a high of 22 cents per share, a 175% gain in just over 2 months. By January, it was at 26 cents, and then it went to 34 cents when it was acquired in April, just as my confidant said might happen. This time, the result didn't surprise me. In reality, I'd have been more shocked if the stock didn't go up. But my point in showing you these gains isn't to show you what you missed out on. It's to show you what you could get in on moving forward. And the next opportunity could be sitting in your inbox rather than passing you by while others capitalize. Let me explain. Because of the on-site research I do for Early Advantage, I hear about these companies all the time. I have a whole stack of notebooks filled with things I've heard or been told outright at conferences, dinners, meetings, and seminars. For nearly a decade, I've traveled all over the world to conduct research, find profitable opportunities, and, most importantly, glean lucrative details from as many top-tier experts as I can. I've been to New Orleans twice, Vancouver twice, San Francisco, Texas, Curacao, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Toronto, Los Angeles, Orlando, the Alberta tar sands, the Athabasca Basin, the list goes on. And it's because of this dedication to in-the-field research that I've rubbed elbows with some of the biggest names in the financial world. I'm talking about guys like Ron Paul, Ted Turner, Peter Schiff, Rick Rule, Alan Greenspan, and John Paulson. I think I've told you this before, but Paulson is probably the richest guy I've ever met, and he was also one of the nicest. We'd both been invited to a closed-door investment summit in Puerto Rico last year, and we got the chance to talk for a while. It's because of contacts like these that I've gained quite a reputation for delivering huge profits time and time again for subscribers to my public newsletter, Early Advantage. Profits like those on the screen have changed people's lives. I know this because subscribers to Early Advantage tell me so. One guy by the name of Dan Leopold wrote to tell me about one of my recent recommendations.
I made over $100,000 with you on the first run a year or so ago.
I've had to redact the stock name there because it's an active play that's still making people money, and it wouldn't be fair to those currently holding positions. Donald McMillan shared his story too.
I did very well on 2 picks. Pretty lucky with a profit of $27,649.
And Anthony Raymond recently wrote me to say,
"This is the most profitable service in almost 10 years of trading. Pure and simple. 3 picks have been triple-digit winners for me. As a friend of mine who speaks broken English would say, thank you very big."
But my favorite is from Tom Donaldson, who made nearly $500,000 on a single investment.
Nick, my account is now over $450,000. Happy with the gain so far. Thanks.
And that brings me to the purpose of this special message. A new opportunity that is light years beyond what I've been able to offer before. You see, at least 2 or 3 times a month, I get a call from one of a few big fish investors I know telling me about a new deal he's investing in. He tells me about a new startup with a cutting-edge technology that is poised to dominate an entire industry. Or, more typically, that could be the target of a takeover bid by a much bigger company. Or I'll hear about a special private placement offering being made only to accredited investors. These are people who buy 1 million shares of a development stage company that could become the next PayPal. Or I hear about a company that has a resource asset about to be acquired by a major, or a waste-to-energy company about to go public by merging into a shell, or a back-end cellular network manager that needs some bridge financing. And each time I'd think to myself, I should really tell Early Advantage subscribers about this. They could potentially make millions of dollars off these plays. But then the members of my team will stop me cold. They remind me that most of these companies are tiny, often trading at less than $1 a share. That means they're simply too risky for my regular readers. Penny stocks are often penny stocks for a reason. Investors could easily lose all their money on these highly speculative plays. It would be the height of irresponsibility to recommend any of them to my regular subscribers. Or, as is more often the case, these are private deals that only certain investors can get in. Yet the potential profits of these private placement shares are also phenomenal. As I mentioned, over time, they often shoot up 20,000, 50,000, sometimes even 100,000% or more. And it simply drives me crazy to let these opportunities for huge profits go to waste, to not do something with them. They're just too good. As a result, a few months ago, my team and I began discussing whether we could create a private VIP investment group. This private group would focus exclusively on these long-shot, private placement stocks and other insider deals usually meant only for the ultra-wealthy. It would be a tiny, elite group made up only of well-heeled subscribers who had some extra risk capital to put to use. Not rich people necessarily, but people with some extra cash to invest. It would not be open to the general public. I would send this tiny group of elite investors details on publicly traded or about to be publicly traded stocks that they can often buy for pennies a share. They would all be long-shot plays, usually based on new technologies or acquisitions that the public doesn't see coming yet. But these plays also involve angel investors pouring millions of dollars into the stocks. In other words, this is a way for well-heeled but not mega-wealthy investors to piggyback onto private placement investments. Normally, you would have to be an accredited investor with a net worth of at least $1 million or an income of at least $200,000 a year to even hear about these deals. And the truth is, you probably wouldn't hear about them even then. But because these are usually publicly traded stocks, no one can stop you from buying them. If the stock goes from 5 cents a share to $109 a share, as happened with Azure Resources, you still make a fortune whether you're an accredited investor or not. Every 1,000 flyer turns into 2.18 million. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. A tiny tech startup that has developed a handheld device for testing the quality and purity of marijuana and any other substance. $1 million opportunity number 1. Never work again with this tiny company poised to dominate the $11 billion medical marijuana market. A tiny device about the size of a smartphone, I have one in front of me right now, could single-handedly revolutionize not just the entire marijuana industry, but also many other food industries as well. Think of it like the tricorder on Star Trek, only this is real. You place a tiny amount of any substance you wish to analyze in a small compartment in the device, and within seconds, the results are visible on your smartphone screen. Engineered to detect molecules in vapor, the patented technology behind this product was used by NASA and funded by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In addition, data from the device, which amounts to a chemical footprint of the sample being analyzed, can be compared to a proprietary database of other samples. This allows for increased accuracy. For health-conscious consumers, the possible uses are endless. You can use it to test what you ingest for potency and harmful additives, test what you eat for dangerous allergens, test what you drink for hidden drugs, including date rape drugs, test what you breathe for harmful pollutants. The sky's the limit for this ambitious startup. According to a brand new report, the U.S. market for legal marijuana grew 74% in 2014 to $2.7 billion, up from $1.5 billion in 2013. It's literally the fastest growing industry in the United States. According to PBS NewsHour, legal marijuana represents a potential gold rush that could conceivably rival the repeal of prohibition. Conservative estimates are that it will be an $11 billion industry within 4 years just with the current legal environment. What's more, if the legalization movement spreads to all 50 states, it will soon be bigger than the entire organic food industry, or a $35 billion market. And the single biggest problem facing everyone from individual users to retailers? Quality control. Current projections foresee sales of the chemical analyzer skyrocketing from 14 million in 2015 to 59 million in a year, revenue growth of greater than 400%. This company has quietly placed its initial tranche of 16 million shares with private investors for less than 50 cents per share. It has raised 3 million through what are called subordinated promissory notes with warrants. And here's the great part of this. There is a way for regular investors in our private VIP group to buy these shares right now. At its current price of $1.60, you could buy 1,000 shares for only $1,600. I believe this stock could easily top $20 a share within a matter of months, and could eventually reach as high as $100. In other words, this is a chance to make 6 figures fairly quickly. If the stock does top $100 a share, your initial $1,600 investment could potentially grow into over $100,000. And that's just for starters. If this technology becomes the industry standard, which I believe is very possible, then all bets are off. But there's one catch. You have to take a chance on this stock before the general public hears about it, when it's still selling for far less than it's worth. Here's another example. $1 million opportunity number 2. Buy the next Skype for pennies a share before it skyrockets above $100. In case you're not aware of it, the hottest telecommunications play right now is in mobile VoIP. That is, software companies that allow you to use your smartphone to call or text anywhere in the world for free. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, imagine if you could have invested in Skype for a nickel a share years before Microsoft bought the company for $8.5 billion. That is the type of play I'm talking about. A tiny company I've been tracking for months has a lock on this technology. It's developed a proprietary platform with voice over internet protocol services that have to be seen to be believed. In my opinion, This company's technology is to Skype what your iPhone is to an old rotary dial phone from the 1950s. Calling another user of this technology on your smartphone is completely free, wherever you are on Earth. If you call a landline phone, there's a small charge, about $1 for every hour calling from the US to Europe. In addition, the company brings together into one simple app a wide array of communications, free peer-to-peer voice and video calls, cheap VoIP calling to landlines and mobiles, call forwarding and routing, texting, instant messaging, social network aggregation, faxing, file transfer, even instantaneous text messaging translations between approximately 50 languages. Make no mistake, this represents a huge sea change in mobile communications. Technically, the technology behind this company is known as over-the-top, or OTT, communications. It uses the Internet to provide services by bypassing the Internet service providers and telecom operators. Analysts estimate that the total market for OTT applications in 2016 will be $166.5 billion. And here's the amazing part. This startup company is poised to utterly dominate this industry, and almost no one knows about it yet. It is flying totally under Wall Street's radar. The company is privately traded, but currently has 52 million private shares out at $3.50 apiece for a valuation of around $182 million. A $1 billion IPO would bring early investors a 449% profit, making you 5.5 times your money. A $22 billion acquisition, on the other hand, is an 11,987% gain, or 120 times your money. Now do you see why I like these pre-IPOs and private placement plays? If you can put up, say, $5,000 in a private placement investment with this company, and it gets bought out by someone like Facebook, you could walk away with $600,000 in cold, hard cash. And that isn't a far-fetched scenario either. Facebook put up $21.8 billion for WhatsApp, which gives its users access to internet-based texting, but no voice. Yet Facebook desperately wants a free app that provides voice as well as texting, which is why it's at the table with this company. So is Hewlett-Packard, by the way. HP is preloading this company's app onto its soon-to-be-released entry into the smartphone market. Bottom line, this new mobile VoIP app could end up being the stock that sets us all up for life. I can get you in while it's still private. $1 million opportunity number 3. Imagine investing in a tiny company with the one product necessary to feed the world. The U.S. and North America as a whole is becoming more and more dependent on the Middle East for a crucial resource, and it's not oil. In fact, a strong argument can be made that this resource is even more valuable than oil, because without it, mankind can't feed itself. I'm talking about phosphate, the component in fertilizer essential for root and stem development in plants, and for which there is no agricultural substitute. Absolutely none. To put this in the starkest possible terms, no phosphate means no fruits and vegetables. And here's the problem. Only 200 million metric tons of phosphate are produced annually worldwide, almost all of which goes to producing fertilizer to grow food. And demand is skyrocketing with no ceiling in sight. Worst of all, a whopping 70% of the total phosphate produced on the planet comes from the war-ravaged, America-hating Middle East and Northern Africa. Countries like Morocco, Syria, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Tunisia, and Algeria. There aren't too many friendly or stable names on that list. And what makes this really dangerous is that the world is running precariously low on phosphate. Production in Tunisia is down from 8 million tons a year to just 2.5 million tons a year, a decline of 70% since the Arab Spring. Russia exports the highest grade phosphate, but it's under economic sanctions. Syria's civil war has led to a 58% drop in production from 2012 to 2013 and is likely not producing any for the foreseeable future. As for the U.S., its phosphate production is expected to decrease by more than 25 million tons a year in the next 15 years. It currently produces around 30 million tons per year and consumes it all, every last gram. Very, very soon, the world is going to wake up and realize it doesn't have enough phosphate to grow its fruits and vegetables. It will be facing a global famine of biblical proportion. This is no joke. Now, here's the inside scoop on this very precious mineral we all take for granted. A brand new phosphate deposit has been discovered in Canada, and no one, I mean no one, knows about it yet. It covers over 96 square miles, or over 61,000 acres, and a single, unknown, but publicly traded company has total control over the entire deposit. An enhanced pre-feasibility study was completed in May 2012 that showed estimated reserves of some 472 million tons of ore grading 6.9% phosphate. Translated into English, that means this company will be able to produce an average of 3 million tons of high-grade phosphate for the next 26 years at least. The value of all this phosphate is estimated to be $1.9 billion. This tiny company has the support of the First Nations, which is critical in Canada. A cooperation agreement was signed between the company and 3 Innu First Nations in June 2015. Full permitting is expected late this year and is expected to go according to plan. The company will likely generate $700 million per year in revenue with an EBITDA of $300 million and a payback of just 4.4 years. Now, phosphate and related fertilizer peers are generally valued at 4 to 5.5 times revenue, or 7 to 12 times EBITDA. Because this is such an early stage play, let's cut those in half to remain conservative. At 2 times revenue, it would be a $1.4 billion company. With current shares outstanding, that would make it a $12 stock. At 3.5 times EBITDA, it would be a $1.05 billion company. That would make it a $9.50 stock. It currently trades at 90 cents Canadian, or just 63 cents US. Let me say up front that it's my opinion this project will be acquired by a major phosphate miner like Potash, Agrium, Mosaic, or possibly even an international player like Israel Chemical, which recently said it wants to double its specialty phosphate chemical business. With a deposit of this size and quality, it only makes sense for a big player like that to be looking into acquiring it. And that is another reason why this is one of the biggest, no-brainer plays I've ever seen. We're looking at making 1,300% profits very quickly. A $10,000 investment could potentially grow into $133,000. Even half of that would be a giant win for shareholders. It's a risk I'm willing to take. So how can you get in on opportunities like these? As I mentioned earlier, these private placement and pre-IPO investments are not for everyone. I just can't, in good conscience, offer information about these investments to my regular subscribers. These are the types of long-shot plays that have the potential to make you 100, 500, even 1,000 times your initial investment, but could also lose most of your money. As a result, they are not for 99.9% of regular investors. But there is a group of investors with extra capital who may want to take a flyer on some of these plays, put $5,000 or $10,000 into a few of these private placement deals. And until now, I couldn't think of a way to help this small group get into these trades. But after months of work and research, my team and I have put together this private VIP investing group I told you about. But we're only going to offer it to a very small number of our subscribers, and only to those investors who can afford it. We're calling this new VIP investing service the Insider's Advantage Hotline. It's part of a new, eponymous service I'm launching called Nick's Notebook. And as far as I know, this is the world's only private VIP investing group dedicated solely to profiting from private placement, recent, and pre-IPO investments. If you qualify, and yes, you must qualify to join this VIP investing group, let me tell you what you get when you become a member. Right off the bat, you get free access to my new report on trading the private placement and pre-IPO market, the Insider's Advantage Millionaire Playbook. It gives you specific trading recommendations for profiting from these little-known investments only the ultra-wealthy hear about. It tells you what to do and when to do it. In addition, the Insider's Advantage Millionaire Playbook gives you a solid introduction to the entire private placement and pre-IPO universe. You also get a full overview of advanced investment strategies to maximize your profits. You'll learn the best way to get into and out of these deals. Also, you'll discover how you can make even bigger potential profits by waiting for the right moment to buy into these stocks. I've seen big fish investors make 100 times more money by waiting for precisely the right moment to pull the trigger. I'll tell you all about that. Then, the big money-making benefits really begin. First, you get specific investment recommendations you can put in place immediately. These include my current recommendations on the company developing marijuana testing equipment, the mobile OTT technology, and the once-in-a-lifetime phosphate play. But there are even more active deals posted that I haven't told you about today. Private placement shares plus warrants in an upstart organic farming outfit, a bridge financing direct with the CEO of a back-end mobile operator I expect to be acquired next year, and a cannabis growing outfit that's planning an upcoming IPO. But please note, these deals are announced and closed fast. Some of these deals may be closed and new ones opened when you become a member. Second, you get my precise, very specific advice on how to implement these investments for maximum profits. If you've ever gotten recommendations from someone and haven't known exactly what to do, I promise you that will not be the case with me. I make sure all of my recommendations are easy to understand and simple to take action on. For each and every investment, I tell you exactly what to buy, what prices I recommend, and what the relative risks and potential rewards of the investment are. If it's a private deal, I'll put you in contact with the company and bankers making it happen so you can take action. Third, and most important, you get my crucial timing advice. I give detailed follow-up instructions on all of these private placement and pre-IPO investments, as many as are necessary, with specific instructions on precisely when to get in, when to get out, and when to take profits. Plus, you get my recommendations when, and only when, I see a major opportunity for you. Recommendations where the risk to reward ratio is heavily balanced in your favor. As you can see, this kind of information really isn't for the average investor. Now, I can't tell you in advance when an opportunity will come up. These are rare, highly speculative, extremely early stage, and often private special situations. Sometimes we just sit tight, waiting for the right moment to get into a stock at just the right price. Other times, we have a number of investments in quick succession. We can go a week or two between updates, and then you could receive several in 1 week, or even in a day. The instructions I give in every investment recommendation are clear and precise. They are described in great detail in our hotline emails, the specifics of each and every investment recommendation written in plain English. Last, but most important, I answer typical member questions. For legal reasons, I cannot address your specific situation. That would make me a broker advisor, and I am not that. Still, I can answer questions about our recommendations and how you should go about making these investments, and will do so. And now here's the bad news. Not everyone can get in on these opportunities. A 1-year subscription to all this, including my current recommendations for pre-IPO and private placement stocks with the potential to skyrocket from mere pennies a share to $30, $50, or even $100 a share, is going to be $5,000 with no discounts. Quite honestly, if you can't afford to spend $5,000 on a service like this without even thinking about it, you shouldn't invest in these private placement plays to begin with. In addition, we must keep this private group very, very small. That's why we're setting the price this high. However, for my current subscribers and readers only, I am offering a limited time 50% charter discount off the regular price. For just $24.95, you can get a full year of my very best private placement and pre-IPO investments with the potential to make you a fortune. Of course, there are no sure things in investing. Past performance is no guarantee of future results, and for this service especially, you should only invest with money you can afford to lose. But with that said, I expect that at least one of the first batch of recommendations you receive from me could easily cover the cost of the service and more. In fact, if I'm right, one of these initial recommendations could cover the cost of a child or grandchild's entire college tuition. Helping people discover investments like these is my life's work, but it takes its toll on me. I sweat blood over every investment recommendation and every email and update I post. As a result, this is not a mass market trading service, not even close. I can't have thousands of people making these investments all at once. Frankly, there isn't room for that many investors in many of the deals I'll be offering. They're that elite. That's why we have to limit membership to Insider's Advantage Hotline to only 400 members. We don't need thousands of people copying my current and upcoming trades, not on these deals. Volume like that would prematurely move the market and make it difficult for the members to scoop up tens of thousands of shares at rock bottom prices. As a result, when you request membership in Insider's Advantage Hotline, you must sign a strict confidentiality agreement. These investment recommendations are solely for your own account with no exceptions. Another thing, if you don't have at least $10,000 in extra liquid capital you can afford to lose on some very risky but potentially life-changing investments, don't bother signing up. This is solely for serious investors willing to take risks to make serious money. Finally, I expect our 400 available slots will sell out very quickly. We do offer an unconditional 30-day money-back guarantee. However, I must ask that you only sign up if you're pretty sure you'll stick with it. Many services offer 60 and even 90-day money-back guarantees for their entry-level trading services, but we decided not to do that with this VIP investing service. First, 30 days is enough time for you to check out the service and for anyone who has buyer's remorse. But second, we can't tie up the limited membership slots for such a long period of time. There are a lot of people who want to get in on these investments. We can't have people signing up, not using the service, and then changing their minds in a few months. That ties up slots that could go to people who want to make serious money. Therefore, if you qualify, have an extra $10,000 you can afford to lose, and will begin using our investment recommendations right away if you find them sound, by all means, sign up as soon as you can. We're going to send this invitation first to everyone who signed up to see this presentation, and then to all of our paid-up subscribers, and then, if it hasn't sold out, to the millions of names on our free newsletters. Once all 400 available slots are taken, that's it. You won't be able to join for love or money. We'll refuse all attempts to order online, and we'll return all checks uncashed. With that said, this could be the single best financial opportunity of your lifetime. I mean that sincerely. The amount of money these private placement investors make is simply obscene. It's time ordinary investors get a piece of it. It will thrill me beyond measure if some of my regular subscribers and readers cash in on these deals. Bottom line, if you want to take a chance on some very risky but potentially life-changing investments, act right now while there are still openings. Click the button below, fill in the form provided, certify that you will not share these trades with another living soul, and let's get started. Insider's Advantage Hotline is part of a new venture called Nick's Notebook. If you want to be a part of something really big, join us and click on the button below. I look forward to the money we'll make together.